Go.
Welcome to Two Guys and Mike podcast. I'm your host, Jason Thompson, and my illustrious co-host,
And Michael Vincent.
where we like to talk about things that matters and interest us. Thank you for tuning in. You have your choice of being anywhere, and you're here with us. And we're humbled. We are coming to you live from an undisclosed location in upstate New York. And in this podcast, we're going to cover a little bit about RFK. RFK and his run for the presidency, maybe being the spoiler. We also want to possibly talk about trad wives, the new hated moniker that the liberal women's hate, and whatever else we want to wander into uncharted territories. We also have a special guest.
Hey
My
guys,
dad, Jim.
happy to be here.
Hey, Jim.
Thank you for having me.
Great to
And-
have you here.
Before we go into our show, I just wanted to quickly touch base. Thank you for all the support and the feedback you guys have given us. Our YouTube channel has launched, and if you're in there, please subscribe. Subscribe is what is going to help us get the algorithms going and the search engines to catch our podcast. Very important. That's going to help us a lot. And with that being said, without any further ado, hello, Michael.
Hey, Jason.
How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great.
Finally get going. Hopefully our audio's all worked out. I think we got it all set.
I think so. Working all the bugs out, and everybody can hear us now.
How are you there, Dad?
I'm doing great.
Yeah?
Things are good. Had a haircut. Had my nap. Feel
Dapper over
great.
there.
Dapper.
Your nap.
And you're on this side of the grass.
Yes, I am.
That's a good one at 82
Wake up
years
in the
old.
morning, I go like this, and I go like that, and if I don't hit wood, I'm doing good.
Well, whatever. Okay. Whatever your wood's your wood.
That's right.
So a little bit of background. RFK, what's your thought? Spoiler, is he going to be a viable run? What's your take there, Mike?
Well, my personal opinion is I'm not sure if he's really going to be able to win. I think it's going to be, he's made some good points. He's out there. Unfortunately, I think he's going to be drawing votes from somebody.
Ralph Nader?
Yeah. And depending on who you talk to, the story changes exactly who he's taking votes from.
Oh, of course.
I think he's taking votes mostly from Trump.
And why would you say that?
Because I have a hard time wrapping my head around who RFK is. I'm not sure whether it should be called RKO instead of RFK.
RKO.
He's a chameleon.
He's not a comedian.
He is a chameleon.
Well, chameleon.
Yes.
Oh,
he-
chameleon. I
he's
thought
been
you
a
said
Yeah.
comedian.
All his life he's been a chameleon. From being a drug addict to a supporter of political campaigns of people who have created more problems in this country than you can shake stick at. He was a supporter of John Kerry. He was a supporter of Obama. He was a supporter of Hillary Clinton. He was a supporter of Al Gore,
Which are all Democrats.
which
Yeah.
is fine. You can be a supporter of a Democrat, but at least be a supporter of a person who's going to have a positive contribution to this country. Can you name one thing that any one of those four people have done good for this country?
Well, unfortunately, that's also your view. There are a lot of people
Well, no,
that would
I'm
think
not
that they
saying-
did
no.
very good.
Play devil's advocate and name one thing that you can think that they have done positive.
I guarantee if you had a Democrat, a left-leaning liberal here, they would probably name you a bunch of things. I don't think they've done anything good personally, but I'm sure there are people that have. People love Al Gore. People love John Kerry. People love RFK.
Obama, next to Biden, has been the most divisive president this country's ever had.
Well, again, that's opinion.
Yes.
As much as I agree with that statement, there's plenty of people out there that don't agree with it.
Racism,
81 million people, as a matter of fact.
I just can't wrap my head around whether he is the world's greatest con man or whether he is
Well-
generally reformed.
Well, RFK was obviously an American politician, an environmental lawyer. He actually graduated from several schools. He's an anti-vaxxer activist and conspiracy theories, and he's also the chairman and founder of the Child's Health Defend Defense, excuse me, Children's Health Defense. It's an anti-vaccine advocacy group. And he's an independent candidate because the Democratic Party pretty much shunned him out for his bid on the 2024 presidential election. He's actually running as an independent. So much so, half his family isn't even supporting his presidential run. He's born in 1954, age 70, 7 kids. Pretty active guy, 7 kids.
Yeah, but his family, well, the Kennedy clan, is supporting Obama, supporting Biden. They're not supporting
They came out the other day and
RFK.
threw
They're
their hat in the ring
supporting
for him.
his opponent. So,
Well,
if
which
your-
means
if your family won't-
he's not a Democrat then.
he is.
Well,
he
his
is.
family is not supporting him, and they're all a bunch of Democrats. And he's running a. He's pro Second Amendment. He's pro freedom of speech.
He's an anti-vaxxer.
He's an anti-vaxxer. There are a lot of.
He's anti-coal, anti-oil, anti-nuclear energy.
Well, he's a staunch. He is a well.
He's been
again,
an environmentalist
yeah,
for a
he
long
was
time.
also he was also instrumental, by the way, in the Quebec government from building LG2 in Quebec. He was also instrumental in lawsuits that he happened to lose in trying to stop several dams being built, and I forget whether it was Brazil or Belize.
He's flown all around the world
somewhere.
advocating for the environment.
what is LG2? I've never.
LG2
don't know what
would
you're
have been the
talking
largest hydroelectric project in the world.
Okay.
It would have produced a backup or a water reservoir system, probably the size of New Jersey.
Okay.
That's how, or even bigger than that, possibly. And it was a massive thing, and it would have given enough power to supply most of upstate New York. And they were against that. The argument brought up was that it would change the actual climate in the northern hemisphere because of there's so much water in one spot. True or not, you know, science can be skewed any way you want.
Yeah, sure.
You know.
All depends on who's paying the bill.
Exactly.
What the scientists say.
Well,
yeah, I agree.
To,
He
to
did
give
do
you
some
to
good
give you a little bit backdrop, what you're saying here, the James Bay Project controversy, which is the LG2, James Bay Project, which was started without permission of the area's Cree and Inuit people, raised controversy in the effects on the indigenous communities in the area and the environmental impact of the project. When
it was environmental impact.
to that point, that's where he would have gotten involved in that because that's what he was a strong proponent of, the environment.
I understand that, but I think that if you're going to get involved in some kind of a project like that is going to have such a massive result in people's lives, that you have to know what the hell you're talking about. And I don't think that there's sufficient information out there to allow something like that to be stopped by, oh, well, I don't like the fact that there's a dam out there because it might affect the green frogs, or it might affect this particular group of people.
There are a lot of people that think otherwise.
I understand that.
Back to what we were saying, as far as RFK was a lifelong Democrat, he became increasingly estranged from the party in 2010, and as he drifted away from the traditional Democrat values and he made his final break October 9th, 2023, when he announced his candidacy as an independent for the President of the United States. So
I understand
since
that.
2010, he's been moving away from the Democrat Party.
Well, I don't disagree that he's moving away, but why I'm saying that I'm not sure whether he's real or not. He did some great things. He started the River Keepers. He sued DuPont and won. He sued GE and won. He sued
He's had quite a few
many cities up and down the
litigation
Hudson
victories.
River for polluting the river. He's done a lot of good things. I'm not arguing the point, but I don't think that his past, which was not something that I agree with. I don't agree with the fact that he pretty much got away with something that you and I wouldn't get away with because of his name and his contact.
And what's that?
He was arrested on drug felony charges.
I mean, he
should have gone
admits he was a heroin addict for 14 years,
Yeah, but
that's
people
what
should-
I
and,
felt.
he changed.
Yeah, people shouldn't be
I'm
held to
not-
their to
I'm
what
not
they
sure.
make,
I'm not
mistakes
sure.
they made.
I'm not sure
know?
that if it goes on, it started he's in high school. He was kicked out of 2 schools for doing drugs when he was in high school. He was-
Right. I mean, that's high school. That's eons ago at this point.
Although he was arrested in 2011
Yeah.
for chaining himself, well, strapping himself to the gates of the White House with Daryl Hannah and a bunch of other actors
That's
and
right.
actresses protesting the Keystone Pipeline.
Exactly.
So he's been controversial when it
He's
comes
very,
to the
very
law.
controversial
Yeah.
that way, and I'm not sure that that's the kind of person I really want to have.
He's
Well,
been-
I don't. You want somebody that stands up for their values. That part of it, I really don't have
I
a
have
problem.
no problem with that at all.
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
And I would rather have somebody stand up for their values, even though I disagree with them, than have a fork-tongued politician like Joe Biden, who is a flag in the wind.
Oh, I
For his
agree with you
political
there.
career,
I don't
I,
have a problem with your thoughts that way. I really don't.
But as far as what you said, as far as him graduating, he graduated from Harvard University, the London School of Economics, Pace University of Law. So he's not a dumb man.
Oh, I'm not
I
suggesting.
mean, you're kind of portraying him to be.
Yeah, we get his
something of a-
environmental. He
Because he's an environmentalist.
his art-
Everything he
his,
looks is gonna be based on an environmentalist point of view.
Yeah, I suppose.
But you have to give him credit. He's been an environmentalist for a long time.
Yes, that's where the money is.
Well, I don't think he did it for the money.
He's
He
a
had
Kennedy.
money to begin.
I-
He's a Kennedy.
I think he did it because that's what he believes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, look at the number of boards that he's on and the various companies that he started, that he owned. It's a plethora,
Okay.
to use your favorite word,
Yeah, but
of
it-
companies that he owns, and is also on the board of directors of all these companies. You get paid for all this.
Yeah, but
Right, but you make that into a negative. I don't see that as a
Well, I
negative.
see it as a
Listen,
negative.
people want him on that board. You know why? It's not who you know, it's who you blow. And
course.
they all know the Kennedy name, so they're going to want that guy on that board.
I don't disagree,
So
but,
that's-
if
that's
he's, but if he's true to himself,
Why? If the committee he's on is a pro-environmental committee, why wouldn't he be on it? If he's true to himself, he's not anti-capitalism. He's big into capitalism. He's pro-Second Amendment. He wants to regulate mortgages. He wants to end foreign wars. He's pro-peace and not nation building across the world. He believes in the border wall. He believes the immigration system's broken. He blames government for most of Main Street's problems, including the cost of food, gas, housing, childcare, Medicare, utility bills. I think those are all really good things to be pro and bring to light. I think that's why he probably
But there
broke
is-
away from the Democrat Party.
there is where the contradiction takes place.
Why?
The cost of food, gas, energy, clothing, schooling, mortgages is all
Directly
dependent
proportional,
on
Vaseline.
the cost
Energy.
of fuel.
Sure.
And he is anti-coal, anti-natural gas, anti-nuclear. He was instrumental in the shutting down of the Indian Point nuclear plant. Instrumental in that. The number one guy who fought that for 17 years and had a shutdown. New Jersey just shut down the what is that? Something Creek. I forget what it's called now. Their
That wasn't
nuclear
related
plant
to
in
him.
2017.
That wasn't related to him, though.
Pardon?
That wasn't related to him. He didn't have anything to do with that one. It aged out.
No, he was instrumental in shutting down
Not the one in Jersey. The one in Jersey
No,
aged
I
out.
know that. But he was involved in that was in 2017, Jason, they shut that down. But he was campaigning against that at the time. Excuse me.
Oh, bless you.
That's my hatred of.
It's working its way out.
Wow. Jeez, you're that staunch.
No, that's what I mean about that. How can you wear two faces? I'm against all this stuff over here, yet what causes all this stuff over here is I'm for all this stuff over here, but what causes that is what I'm against over here. It doesn't make any sense. You can't say that I'm going to fix mortgages, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and at the same time you cause it by what you're for.
Although Kennedy is he may not be pro nuclear, but he is pro hydroelectric, thorium, and geothermal.
That's fine, but the problem is, even if
Well, the thing is that he may have objections, but at least he offers alternatives.
but the alternatives make no sense. That's like
What's
saying
wrong with hydroelectric and geothermal?
there is no way America could produce enough hydroelectric energy and thermal energy in this country to support New York State, let alone the whole country.
I don't know about
There's
that.
no watershed in New York State other than Niagara Falls. That's it, buddy.
Well, true. Well, you have one in Cohoes.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's my point. Is
The hose, you got one in Waterford.
well, that's my point with Kennedy. That's why I can't get my head around it. Is that he?
Although in an article in 2023, Kennedy did say that he could support a push for nuclear in a sustainable way, not in the probably if you were to bring up a CANDU reactor as opposed to the breeding reactors we used in the United States today, he would probably be, I would say he would be into that. And I think that's the biggest problem is that, all around the world they use CANDU reactors, which are non-breeding reactors. In the United States, they use breeding reactors, which can cause meltdown like 3 Mile Island or Chernobyl. They don't have that in other countries. He said that he would be pro that, but unfortunately, big business won't allow that. It's cheaper to make a breeder reactor than it is a non-breeder reactor.
Well, you need a breeder reactor so you can make your nuclear fuel.
Well, again, he's anti-nuclear war, so of course he wouldn't support a breeder reactor.
Who was the president that said, "Walk quietly but carry a big stick"?
Theodore Roosevelt.
Okay. Now, there's no way.
Peace through strength. Who said that?
No.
Peace through strength.
Peace
Who said
through
that?
strength. Yes, exactly.
Ronald Reagan said that.
You know, and and that's the problem is that you can sit back when you're living in a country where you're mostly safe most of the time. As long as you're not living in New York City, you're pretty safe.
Or any major city.
And they turn around and say, well, guess what? I'm anti all this stuff here. I'm anti this, anti that, anti-war, anti-nuclear, anti-nuclear bombs. Of course, nobody wants a nuclear war. But if you've got a rifle, my knife is going to do me no good if we fight you and I. So we have to have the deterrent. And by lobbying against that deterrent all the time is creating a problem for me.
I don't think that. I think we've gone away from what you're getting pretty meta in the way you're discussing RFK. I think on a broader scale, he appeals to a lot of people because he carries a lot of the conservative talking points, for argument's sakes, and he has a softer tone than Trump. Other than his voice I find very grating. I have a hard time listening to him.
But
he also gives the Democrats the alternative to Biden, which Biden is an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
So, to Mike's point, I think that he is going to pull from both parties equally.
Yeah, that's my thoughts on that too. You know, he's the alternative on both sides.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people, a lot of Democrats that don't want Biden,
Yes.
and there's a lot of Republicans that don't want Trump.
Orange man bad.
Oh,
Unlike Republicans, Democrats, by and large, are in lockstep. And they will vote Democrat. Most of them are yellow.
hell or high water. That's
Yellow dog Democrats. And there are very, very few yellow dog Republicans.
I
Republicans
think
eat their own.
I don't know. Republicans do
I
eat their
think
own.
as far as the voting Republicans, you might have a point. As far as the politicians, you're probably right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my fear.
Everybody seems to be afraid to stand on their own ideals.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Oh.
everybody follow. Well, we become a country of lemmings.
Oh, exactly.
Jump off a cliff, everybody jumps off the cliff.
Yep.
If somebody gets upset, cancel that person.
Yep.
But as far, it'll be interesting to see because right now, Michigan has just become the 4th or 5th state that Kennedy is now allowed on.
Yeah.
It follows Utah, and it looks like he's going to be in North Carolina, Nevada,
South
New
Carolina.
Hampshire. Not yet; it hasn't been approved yet.
Well,
Well,
he's got the
polling-
votes.
yeah.
He's going through the
He's
motion.
polling 14%.
Nebraska, Iowa, Idaho, and Hawaii are all states right now that he looks like he's on the threshold or has secured the signatures to be on the ballots. It should be pretty interesting how, come summertime, where those polls play, and how those states come into play for the Democrats. Because if you take a state like Michigan, where Democrats don't usually put money in the state of Michigan,
No.
now they're going to have to put money in the states of Michigan, which that takes away from the Florida races, the Texas races. Again, we all think millions and millions of dollars, but eventually there's only so much money. And when they didn't plan on spending money in Michigan and New York,
Exactly.
because I think that if you look at the polls from 2020, although I think that I'll be the first to say it between the four of us in this room, I think that Trump did win the election. I don't care what anybody says. I think
agree with you.
The ballots were gerrymandered. But I think if you were to take enough away, where people I think going into this election are going to be solidified, I'm voting for Trump or I'm voting for Biden, and you have a 3 or 4% outliers that are going to vote for the third party, whether it be that Jill, whatever her name is,
Yeah.
or Kennedy.
Yeah.
And I think that 3%, 3 to 4% is who's going to swing the pendulum to Biden or Trump.
I think it's always been the independents who have decided the election in most cases.
But the independent doesn't like Trump right now.
I know. And as far as elections
Well,
being stolen,
that's what the Main Street polls say.
That's what they want you to
I
believe.
mean, I don't know. I think if a pollster called me, I wouldn't tell him the truth anyways, in fear that they would leak my information to somebody else. I don't know.
Yeah, but the Quinnipiac poll that came out a couple of weeks ago, and Quinnipiac is as liberal as
They're a good posting. They're a
far
good
left as
pollster
you
though.
can get. Their polls have been pretty good, and
Yep.
they gave Trump a substantial lead over Biden.
Yep.
They're also the ones that gave RFK 14% vote, and 14% of the popular vote was going to swing this election.
Well, you make a point. It could. It's 14%, and it depends on who you're pulling that from.
That's 28% because it's taken 14 from him and given 14 to you. That's 28%, whether you like it or not. No matter how figures lie, but liars don't figure.
Words of wisdom from James. We should do a clip.
Jim's words of wisdom.
Here you go.
The deep thoughts from shallow waters.
Yeah. Oh boy. Although USA Today 20 poll of today actually still says Donald Trump leads Joe Biden in all battleground states, even with or without Kennedy in the mix. So
Yeah, but if you put Kennedy in the mix, how does it change?
no, so I know it says a survey released on Sunday shows Biden polling at 44, Trump polling at 46, even with a 3% swing either way, even with Kennedy in there.
But that's within the margin of error, so they're basically.
Well, that's when the ballot harvesting happens, right? That's
Exactly.
where
Yeah,
your
that's
ground
when you
game.
stop counting
we
votes.
suddenly found 20,000 votes under the table. That was
Yeah, why is it nobody ever talks about that? We all went to bed on election night
Oh,
at
yeah.
1:00 in the morning, and
First time ever they
Trump
stopped
was
counting
winning.
votes.
All of a sudden, they stopped counting votes. You wake up at 7:00 the next day. Holy crap! 300,000 votes swing
Yeah.
for Joe Biden. Where did
Yeah.
all those votes come from?
Exactly.
Incredible.
this
I've often said I think if Donald Trump had done a mea culpa at one of those debates or come out and done a commercial and said, "Look, I know I've pissed you guys off. I know that I come out like a brash bull in a china shop, and I say things. It's because I'm passionate. It's because I'm fighting for the kitchen table of America. I'm fighting this swamp that's dragging me down. And yeah, I'm going to be passionate about it. I care about my country. I care about my family. I care about my fellow Americans. I'm not this fork-tongued politician like Joe Biden who'll say anything he can to get elected. I'm passionate. And for that, if I've upset you or I said something wrong, I'm sorry. And it was never meant as an insult or a slight. I am a brawler, and I'm fighting every day for your kitchen table and what matters to you. I think had he done something to that effect,
Oh, I think that would have went a long way. Absolutely.
I think it would have made up for all the gerrymandering the Democrats ever tried to do. There would have been a lot of people that were on the fence would have gone and said, you know what, he's absolutely right. He is fighting for me.
But you're forgetting the elephant in the room.
What's that?
He's a narcissist.
He will never do that. Yes.
That's the problem.
Absolutely.
That is the problem.
Yep.
But I think that's where his vulnerability is with the RFK. Is that I think the people who would have taken that apology and said, you know what, I am going to vote for him because,
Exactly.
yeah, you know, maybe he does do a mean tweet and it offends me. Maybe I can't see him as a father figure to my kids because I think personally, I think a president should be somebody that can tell both my boys, this is somebody you should esteem and prize to be. Yeah. You know, people like me, for example, said, no way, not voting for that guy. And people like me, had he come out and said something like that, I would have said, you know, he's right. He's right. He is fighting a really bad fight. And he gets mad. And I get mad at my kids. If my kids took everything I said to heart, they'd never like me. But they love me because I'm their dad. So, and I think, not that Donald Trump's my father, but I think as a candidate, you could then see the man behind the candidacy and say, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think basically an apology would humble him.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
I agree with that.
and I think that would have changed a lot of people.
It comes back to the fact that it's not going to happen. And no matter how much I'm included,
he is narcissist.
wish that would happen, it's not going to happen because of the man of who he is.
Well, we're not saying that it's going to happen or that he should follow our advice.
But he should.
Well,
Because we
so.
have a responsibility and we have the right to vote. We have the responsibility to express our opinions. And any politician's worth his salt has to pay attention to the people who are out there who are going to put him in office. And unfortunately, they don't. They don't give a damn.
No, they don't. They usually do what they want, and then 6 months before election, then suddenly they're trying to gain those votes back.
They're your best buddy.
Yeah, that was always the one thing I didn't like about primaries. You'll have a candidate that'll be far left or far right during the primary, and all of a sudden, in the general, they're in the middle.
Exactly.
And then once they're elected, they go right back to where they were before that.
Yeah.
Joe Biden actually, during the election, in 2020, he was the moderate on the stage. He was the one that was the most centrist.
Yeah.
I mean, from Buttigieg all the way down to Amy Klobuchar, he was all right of them. And as soon as he got elected, boy, he turned left so freaking hard. I think his head stayed back there and his neck kept on going.
Well, that's because that's what Barack wanted him to do.
This is Barack's third term, some people are saying.
Absolutely.
It is. There's no doubt about it. Look at the number of times that Barack Obama has been in the White House.
He never moved out of Washington, D.C.
No.
The only president
That's the only president to never leave Washington.
Yeah.
But to get back to RFK, in an interview the other day, he was asked to describe the Democrat Party as, you know, why did you leave the Democrat Party? And this is where I think Trump is going to have a hard time with RFK. He came out and said the Democrat Party is the war party. It's no longer the party of peace like it used to be. He says the Democrat Party is now the party of censorship. They're the first ones that want to silence their opponents through censoring, through locking people up. They're the party of big pharma and neocons. And he's absolutely right. I mean,
Without a doubt he is.
If you don't think Pfizer and Moderna and AstraZeneca have not purchased the Democrat Party, look at COVID.
Sure.
You know, they're the party of the aggressive foreign policy and forever wars. There was no wars under Donald Trump.
No.
All right, and the day one that Biden got into office, we started with Syria, and it has gotten worse ever since. He came out and he said, you know, and ultimately with everything, the Democrat Party has turned its back on the middle class, and the things that have instituted hurt the middle class because they are the 1%. The Democrat. You look at all the Democrats in government. The Feinsteins, the Bidens, Pelosi's, they're all multimillionaires. Mind you, they've all enriched themselves. Let's not kid ourselves. But the fact of the matter is they don't look out for us. They don't know what they have no idea what it is like to even make a payment of a car, let alone vote for something that's going to help us out. And I think RFK saying that kind of stuff is going to resonate with red voters.
Yeah.
And I think Trump's going to have a hard time with that.
You may be right. You may well be right. And that's one of the reasons why I said originally that I thought he was going to pull more from Trump than he is from Biden because of that. But my problem is I don't necessarily believe what he says. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I would agree with you, Dad, if the Democrat Party hadn't turned its back on him. And if his family hadn't turned its back
The
on him.
Democratic
That's
Party,
pretty telltale that you've gone
the
against.
Democratic Party has not changed. The Democratic
Oh, it
Party
has, Dad.
has always
Oh, my
been that
God.
way. But
No.
the problem is it was hidden.
I disagree. You listen to his uncle, John F. Kennedy, and you listen to the speech. What no, do not what. Don't do. No, I'm
I
gonna
know.
butcher it.
Do not
Do
what
not. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. That is a Ronald Reagan line.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
mean, the Democrats
Democrats and
have come
Republicans
so
have switched.
Far.
They flop
Oh
back and
my
forth.
God, haven't
Used to
they
be the
ever?
Republicans that were the warmongers.
Yes.
Now it's completely out.
I would go as far as to say, if I was old enough, I would have voted for John F. Kennedy. If I was around that, because
We can all
read.
be hoodwinked because I would have voted for Obama first time around.
Oh, never.
Yes, I would because he was an excellent orator. He spoke well.
Well, all you
He
have to do.
sounded well. His ideas were good. I liked the idea of inclusion. I liked the idea of trying to get everybody together. I liked a lot of his social policies. I agreed with, not all of them. And I liked the man more than I liked the guy who was
McCain
against.
was a horrible candidate.
Yeah.
And I liked him, and I would have voted for him.
However,
But
I see it. However, here.
He turned out being nothing more than smoke and mirrors.
Listen,
Well, that's most politicians these days, though.
Okay,
but all you have to
say
do is
what you want.
listen to Michael Obama and what he had to say.
oh yeah,
He said, we're going to change our traditions. We're going to
Yes.
change the way we think, change the way we do things. Yes, you may have liked the way he spoke it, but if you listen to what Obama had to say, his plan was to transform our country from what it was to what it is today.
that was.
And
his
that's what he's
second
doing in
term,
this-
Not the first term.
No, that's his third term that he's really making the biggest transition.
That's right.
He-
the second term is when he
That
said
was
all that. When he got up
always
there.
the plan.
His plan was that from day one. I don't agree, but during his
Oh, the yes,
candidacy
the yes
in
we
his first
can,
term,
the yes
none
we
of
can
that shit
campaign.
came out. None of it came out, and that's the problem. And that's the problem I have with Robert F. Kennedy. Is that what he's saying right now? I don't believe.
You don't think that Kennedy is being truthful in what he's saying right now?
I don't think he's being truthful in most of what he's saying.
I have to disagree with
That's
that.
my personal. I don't say that
Yeah.
I'm right, but I'm saying that I look at who he was, I look at what he's done, and I disagree with mostly what he's done and what he wants to do. I agree with.
Well, but that's different
I
than
agree.
saying that he's basically just telling you what you want to hear
Yes,
to
he
get
is.
in.
Because he's telling what I want to hear, what the general population want to hear. He's not. I don't think he's.
And he's been setting this up for a long time because he's always been the environmentalist that he is today.
That's fine. I have no. If you want to be an environmentalist, that's fine. But be an environmentalist. Don't be an environmentalist here, and be against environment over here.
Why do you say he's
One
not?
way or the other.
He's through his whole life. He's been a pretty steady and a pretty steadfast art environmentalist his whole entire life.
How can you preach? I am 100% against the increase in cost of everything, but I am one of the responsible people for the increase
Because
in
they
cost of
don't
everything.
see that is their cause. Is the
Well, then-
because they don't. Dad, because if
There's different
if-
issues.
if that was the case, there wouldn't be one person in this country that would think a Democrat is smart. There would be one person in this country that would ever vote.
So
because
you're telling
if
me
you-
that then you're saying that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is not smart because
No, I'm basing it on what you're saying. The problem is somebody who's a Democrat who says, "Oh, women should have reproductive rights." We'll say. I'm not going to go any further than just say that. They don't look at the consequences to that statement and what it causes.
Okay.
So they're going to vote for the candidate that says strictly reproductive rights, not realizing that, yeah, that candidate also wants to destroy your job and your country and your freedom of speech, but they're single issue voters. So Robert Kennedy looks at everything he does in the environmental sphere, irregardless of what the consequences of that are. His focus is the environment. So he is going to tailor everything he argues for, all of his policies around the environmental sphere. Are there ways to do that? Other countries do things a lot better than we do, and they're a lot cleaner and safer.
So then you're back to saying that I'm correct. That
I don't think I ever said that.
I don't quite get that out of there. But.
No.
that he's a fraud.
He's not a fraud.
So he's preaching.
No.
He's preaching to acquire he wants to get, but he's totally responsible for creating a problem to preach to acquire.
No. That would be a fraud, but he's not a fraud because everything he argues is pro-environmental because that's what he believes to his core.
I understand that, but if he's a smart individual,
They're not. I just got done saying Democrats are smart. Because if they were, they wouldn't vote Democrat.
So then he's a fraud because he's not telling them
He's
the
not a
people
fraud
the
because
truth.
a fraud would be him.
So he's not saying, okay, we have these problems and these problems are caused because
Wrong.
we as
Wrong.
a
He doesn't think
Democratic
that.
because we as the Democratic Party have introduced all these rules and regulations
Never convince him of that.
have driven it all up.
You'll never convince him of that.
And it
He
could
doesn't
be
believe-
the reason why his family's not, endorsing him.
So
Democrats don't listen. Joe
under-
Biden's border policy is disastrous to the country. He doesn't believe it is. He
Biden doesn't
and
know what he's talking about.
Doesn't matter.
You
Do
can't
you
introduce
think that
that.
some of the people that argue with us on Facebook,
Oh, yeah.
they don't believe it's a border problem?
Of course they don't.
That doesn't mean they're frauds. They just don't see. They are not willing to look at truth through your eyes. They're looking at it through a Democrat's eyes.
You are suggesting that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is a viable candidate because he's getting up there and he's saying, I have been
I didn't say it was about. I'm just bringing him up.
an environmentalist all my life,
Yep.
and I believe 100% in all these environmental issues.
Yes.
But I'm not willing to tell you that I am one of the people responsible for all the problems you have.
Correct. He doesn't believe he is.
Then he's an idiot.
Doesn't
Well,
matter.
that's not the issue
That's
that we're
not
talking
the issue
about.
at all. But
Then
that's
he
the
must
way-
be.
No,
Then he might. If you
absolutely
can't.
not.
So don't believe whatever you believe in your mind, but disbelieve your lying eyes.
That's exactly the Democrat Party today. And if you can't see that based on the polling, how can
Oh,
it,
I can see that. I'm saying.
so that's the point.
I can see that, Jason. But I cannot accept the fact that Robert F. Kennedy can't. If he can't see it himself, then I don't want him anywhere near the presidency.
Listen, if he's going to sit there and argue anti-nuclear and then say that his policy isn't going to affect the cost of electricity, you'll never convince him otherwise. As a conservative and a right-thinking person, anytime you add electricity to the grid, it will drive down the cost. If you limit the ability for electricity to be on the grid, it'll drive up the cost. But I don't have his lens. So he doesn't see it that way. I see it that way.
But you don't have to.
They-
All you
they
have
do.
to do is sit down with a pencil and paper.
Never gonna
because
convince him of that.
Figures don't lie, but liars sure figure. I come back to the same point again.
Dad, why do Democrats push windmills?
Because
They are the most inefficient, most expensive, most environmentally unfriendly way of producing
Because
electricity.
they're all
but
try- they're
they're
all-
go- you'll never convince them otherwise.
They're all trying to be Don Quixote. That's why.
Whatever. You'll never convince them You'll never convince an environmentalist that wind power isn't the way to go. You'll never convince them otherwise. Of
course
Even though, no matter how many figures you give them, no matter how much information you put in front of them, no matter what you do. Listen, you can't recycle fiberglass properly.
No.
It doesn't biodegrade. The
They just
generator.
bury them.
What's that?
They just bury them.
They bury them.
Bury all the,
How is that
all
good for the
components.
environment? But you're never going to convince them that windmills aren't the best thing since sliced bread. Take a thermometer gun, and point it at a field that has solar power panels in there. Solar panels. It's almost 100 degrees more than in a field that has no solar panels on it. You're going to tell me that doesn't contribute to global warming? Abso-freaking-lutely. When you have thousands and thousands of acres, you'll never convince an environmentalist that solar panels are causing environmental climate change.
I understand that, Jason.
But that's the way that what I'm saying. You're arguing semantics on what
no,
they're.
I'm not. I'm saying that the individual, is not trying to run the country. And if you're trying to run the country, if you want to run the country, you have got to accept the truth.
They don't, Dad.
And if you don't want to accept the truth, you have no business being there. That's my opinion. That's my point.
You're going to tell me that people who supported Jimmy Carter, the peanut farmer, didn't see that what he was doing was wrong during the 70s? You're going to tell me that people who supported George W. Bush the first 3 years of his presidency didn't believe everything he was doing? It all depends on the filter of your lens.
Speaking of Bush, by the way, I think his election was stolen too. But still, that he stole the election in Florida, but whatever.
No, I don't think that was stolen. We're arguing. As soon as you start arguing about voter intent,
I know,
you're subjecting yourself to Pandora's box.
Getting back to
Let's get back on with RFK.
Kennedy, the thing is, and this is my problem with Kennedy, is that if he's supposed to be as smart a person as he purports to be, with his various degrees from his first environmental degree from the University of Virginia and his law degree from Harvard and all that stuff. That means he has to have some brains in his head. So if he has some brains in his head, he has to be able to say, well, this is a black wall, this is a white wall, and in between there's gray.
No.
But he doesn't.
No,
if he can't do that,
that's not the lens he uses.
If he can't do that, I don't want him as a president. That's my point.
The problem, that's exactly. I mean, I think you'll probably agree with this, Mike. That's the reason why you'll never vote for a Democrat, and a Democrat will never vote for a Republican, because that's the lens that they use to look at the candidates.
But I don't use that lens.
I disagree with you. I think you use a lens, you just don't know you use it. Just like a Democrat uses his lens, and they don't know they use it either.
There are a lot of things that Republicans do that I disagree with violently.
But again, you're not a single issue voter. A lot of people are single issue voters.
Okay.
That's the other big problem.
So back to RFK.
You keep roping us back in.
Well,
Michael.
yeah. So
Back to
what do we know about the
Daniels.
VP?
I know nothing other than her name is Shanahan.
About
Nicole
what?
Shanahan.
Nicole Shanahan, his VP pick.
Right.
I have no idea who she is. I know nothing about her. Which, shame on me. I should have probably.
She was married to Sergey Brin. One of the is it? Sergey Brin? Was one of the founders.
Sergey.
There you go. One of the co-founders of Google.
Really? So she got money.
So she has money. So she's basically financing him. She has never been in politics at all until her appointment just now to be a running mate.
Really?
Yep.
That's like having another Sarah Palin.
Yeah.
No.
Well, at least Sarah Palin was in politics, and she could see.
She was a hottie.
She could see Russia out her window.
And she was a hottie.
She was good at foreign affairs.
She was a hottie.
She was an attractive woman.
Yes, she was.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
You betcha.
So it looks like she's maybe Asian. Does that look right?
I would tend to think you're right.
I'm just looking it up now. Nicole Shanahan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know nothing about her. So, well, if we're going to talk about Veeps, who do you think? I think Trump's going to pick as a Veep.
Well, you know my feelings on that one.
Scott?
I'm a Vivek Ramaswamy guy.
Vivek Ramaswamy.
I think he's got a lot of good ideas. I think he's useful, so he'll be around for a long time, because whoever Trump does pick is more than likely going to be running for president the next time around. So you don't want to pick somebody that's at the end of his career.
I think Scott would be a better choice.
Yeah? And why?
I think he's more acceptable
I like Scott.
to the population. I think he has more name recognition. I think he's done a lot of good
Okay.
Not that your buddy hasn't done a lot of good, but I haven't seen anything that he's been involved in that has done has benefited the general population.
I think that Shanahan's would be if she actually got in, probably the youngest VP we ever had, 38 years old.
Yeah.
Who's this?
The VP Kennedy's VP pick.
Well, isn't
Yeah.
Vivek 38 also?
He's not a VP pick as of yet. Although, interestingly enough, Nicole RFK did say Nicole and I are both left of the Democratic Party. He said our values hasn't changed. The Democratic Party did. So he said he stands at being center left of the party.
So he thinks he's true Democrat, and that
Yeah.
the party itself, the majority of the party, is what's changing.
Has left him, yes.
I don't think I can argue that.
Biden and Trump both attacked the Kennedy and Shanahan ticket.
Well, of course, that's what they're going to do. That's
Yeah.
the political game. You have to try to discredit your
Although,
opponents.
I got a question.
To me though, 38 years old is a liability. You have no,
Not enough life experience?
no, not at all.
Yeah.
38 years old, yeah, no experience.
Uh,
That was
Yeah.
probably my issue with Vivek Ramaswamy. He has no experience.
Well, he has no, for somebody that doesn't have experience, I mean, he's a self-made man.
That doesn't mean anything.
Well, sure it does.
Look at Trump.
You have to delegate. I mean, he made himself, Vivek Ramaswamy is also a billionaire. You don't get there not knowing what you're doing, not being able to delegate.
Just because you know how to delegate doesn't mean you know anything about politics.
Well, no, but that's
that's the problem.
probably what we need.
That's the problem. We're electing politicians instead of we're electing people who know how
Yeah,
to
but
run
you
the
still
country.
need to know.
Yeah.
You still need to know how to get along with people. The biggest problem with Trump is that he couldn't get along with anybody. He had
Well,
he had all the best policies ever, but he couldn't get along with anybody. Nobody wanted to work with him. How does that work?
Yeah, that's a pretty broad brush, though. You
That's
can't
a
just say
very broad
because
brush, but it's true.
because
It's
that's
true.
what Trump did means that's going to
He
be
didn't
what
have
Ramaswamy's
class,
going
But
to do.
experience and wisdom comes with age, and 38 years
Okay.
old is not old enough.
No,
I don't think it is. Not
I'd
for
give
the
him
not for
credit
the
that.
second biggest, the second most powerful office in the world. Being being the VP, I think you need somebody a little more seasoned. I think, personally speaking,
Okay.
I don't know. I could be wrong.
And we don't know who the actual pick is going to be.
I would like to see Scott,
Yeah.
Tim Scott.
Yeah, me too.
I think he's a. I mean, if you're going to talk about race, he's black.
Yeah.
So that kind of helps the black vote. Although I think he's very, very smart.
Yeah.
Senator, North Carolina?
Yeah.
Senator?
Very well spoken.
Very well spoken.
Very well spoken.
And he's true to himself.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll come right out and say what he feels, how he, and what he wants, and not afraid to pull a race card if somebody's being a racist.
Yep.
And I think that's what we need. It's truth, and I think he's a breath of fresh air, and I think in many ways he could probably temper Trump a little bit, or maybe more. No,
You're
maybe
dreaming-
even
you're
more.
dreaming there.
No, but maybe be more of the attack dog, so Trump doesn't have to be
Yes,
the one that does
yes,
it.
yes.
I think the biggest problem Trump was that he
He
picked
was wearing all the
Pence.
hats.
Yeah, he picked Pence. Pence
was a terrible-
such a vanilla guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just didn't do anything. And I think unfortunately Trump felt like he was on an island by himself,
So-
which he kind of did himself. But I think that if Kennedy happened to get the nomination and become the president, I think he'd be the same way with Shanahan. Because she has zero, and I mean zero political experience. She was a
Right.
lawyer, and then she was a philanthropist. How does that even make a decent vice president? I don't understand. To me, there should be a minimum of some kind of government.
I think that this discussion we're having is interesting, but as far as the
Well, I hope so. I mean,
as far as the
sat here and said nothing.
As far as the possibility of Robert F. Kennedy
RFK.
becoming president, it's a non-starter. There is no way he will ever become president. It's out of the question.
Why is that?
Because
Because of the historical family.
that's part of it.
And what's going to happen to him should he become any bigger
Well,
than he is?
that's part of the problem. Because
Let's
if
not
he,
say the word.
once he gets up there, if he ever gets close,
You think he'll meet the same
I think
demise?
he's
as
getting a
Justice
lot of
Taylor?
recognition right now. I don't think he's going to
Yeah,
do it this time around.
Yeah,
But
Yeah,
politics
but he's
is
70 some odd years old. He's 70
politics.
years old. He ain't gonna make
Politics is
74.
dirty. They're going to bring up the grandfather. They're going to bring up Ted Kennedy. They're going to bring up all his drug taking.
And the Democrats love them, Dad.
They used to. A lot of Republicans love Trump. Not now.
Well, what was the stat that you pulled up the other day that said 60% of Americans are registered Democrats?
yes,
What was that?
yeah, that's
So,
about 60%.
60. So right off the get-go, if only Republicans voted for Republicans, all independents voted for Republicans, he'd win no matter what.
Yeah.
So that's to have that argument. I think that's where Biden's really nervous. Is that if he gets enough traction, I think he could get the nomination. That's why they're fighting so hard for him to be off every single ballot, because I think he would beat.
Oh, I think he would too.
He would beat Biden.
I think a soup can would beat Biden right now in a primary.
Unfortunately, he probably wouldn't, just because
Because the
Democrats stay
Democrat-
tight.
Listen,
If there's a Democrat on the ticket, they're going to vote for a Democrat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying as far as Biden, as far as the primary, not the primary, the convention goes,
Okay.
a soup can would beat Biden.
According to our beliefs, but not according to Democratic beliefs.
No,
no. What he's saying is, if at the Democrat convention there were two nominees up there,
a soup can and Biden.
one being
Oh.
a soup can, one being Biden, I think most Democrats would probably pick somebody else than Joe Biden.
Yeah.
If it was a Democrat.
Okay.
And I think that's probably what it
misunderstood what you're
is.
saying.
But
Yeah, that
unfortunately,
makes sense.
and I think Biden knew that. That's why he fought so hard to keep RFK off the ballot all over the country during the primaries, because I think he would have lost every primary challenge he had,
Yeah.
including Delaware.
Yeah, I think you're right. Because people are starting to realize, even the Democrats, that Biden is not running the country.
No, he's a
Biden-
puppet. He's a puppet.
There's a puppet master out there, and they're starting to realize that the puppet master is Obama. And,
Oh, yeah.
and
Without
even,
a doubt.
And even the Democrats are starting to realize that Obama was very divisive for the country. Very, very divisive.
Well, I don't know how many Democrats think that. I think
there's
I think if Obama, just like Slick Willie, was able to have another term, good old Barry would probably win. What do you think?
I think that's
Slick
absolutely
Willie,
right.
Slick Willie would have won a third term easily.
Yep.
I don't disagree. Of course he would.
The Teflon president.
Of course he would.
Yep.
Listen, anybody who convince an 18-year-old to get on their knees gets my vote.
Oh my God!
Oh my.
Jesus Christ! What
Okay.
is wrong with you? Something is seriously wrong.
Yeah.
But all right, so if you were to
The views of the guests are not necessarily the views.
The views are of the commentators. If you were to put a number to it, what's the final tally between the three? Where do you think the percentages are going to be?
So if the election was tomorrow?
we'll pick for New York. Yeah, just make it.
Oh, New York is. I'm thinking there's a possibility that Trump will squeeze by and win New York.
Whoa!
I do.
Big prediction there.
Yes, absolutely.
Jay, what do you think? What's your thought?
Trump, not in New York though.
Now, okay. What about you, Dad? In New York.
60% Democrat.
I think I'm not at 60. I'm probably thinking 49% Democrat.
I'm thinking 60% Democrat.
Okay.
Because
I would love to see the Democrats have to put money in New York. That'd be great.
Yeah.
That would be.
well, it depends on how.
Although I'll tell you, the black vote is really starting to swing towards Trump. With this, I think that's the
a
unintended
lot of
consequences
Yes.
of this. The trial is.
It is exactly.
The blacks are really
they're seeing
the
Trump-
two-tier judicial system through the lens of their eyes.
Yeah.
They're
Yep.
seeing that two-tiered.
But they're also right
judicial
too.
system.
Whether you like it or not, it is. They are right.
Oh, it's terrible what they're doing to him. Did you hear the guy set himself on fire in front of the courthouse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guy died. He died today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Surprised it took him 2 days to die, but
But what was I forget what was on this pamphlet. I forgot what
he was a pro Bernie Sanders guy.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, Bernie Sanders, eat the rich.
Not surprised
Yeah.
he set himself
That's
on
what the
fire.
T-shirt
you
he was
know?
wearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
You know, if you're a pro Sanders guy, I'm not surprised you set yourself on fire.
I mean, I feel terrible for the family. You know,
so do I.
that's gotta be horrible to deal with that. I mean, what goes through your head that you're so distraught politically? I mean, really? I mean,
Yeah.
that you'd set yourself on fire.
You don't just kill
God.
yourself, but you're agonizing as you're dying.
I mean, could you imagine that first 2 seconds? Oh shit! I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my God! I mean, hopefully,
Well, how many of these Tibetan monks have done the same thing?
set themselves on fire.
Yes.
I've never heard of that.
No,
It was a common practice in the 70s. Look it up.
I never heard of
Really?
Yes, they
Tibetan
would
monks
set
setting
themselves
on
on fire all
fire.
the time.
Look at us. Wait, you jump right on the freaking computer right away.
You sure you're not Joe Biden over there with a mask on?
No, I'm telling you. Look it up. Look it up.
I'll look it up. Keep talking there.
You just look it up right now.
Okay.
I can't imagine it's actually a fact.
It is a fact. You keep.
One person.
No, there was several.
One monk.
Yes.
Yes. Not from
One
several
monk.
to one
Not
monk.
one, Jason. There were.
It says right here. It mentions one monk in South Vietnam with the image captivated the world when
Okay.
he set himself on fire in
Okay.
1963.
Look up in India.
Come on.
Look up in India. Look up in China.
Oh, now
Are you
we're
a
grasping
Democrat
at
now?
straws.
Look-
Oh, we're going to start totally together.
Let
Keep
me
it
start
balanced.
decimating the whole.
You're
Disseminating the
you're
whole
talking
entire
Vietnam.
internet.
Look up in Tibet.
I just did it. I got the picture right here. He set himself on fire.
There are. I don't know. There were maybe 15 or 20 of them.
A story behind the monk setting himself on fire. It didn't say the many monks. It says the monk.
Okay, they're talking about that one guy.
Because that's the one you're talking about. It's the only one that happened.
So then, if we only talk about Biden, he was the only president America had.
No, but
That's what you're
Where does
talking
that come?
You're talking about monks.
Yes,
setting themselves.
and-
There's only one monk that set
No.
themselves on fire.
That's not correct.
And you know, that's a really bad argument, discussion. I really don't want to talk about anybody setting themselves on fire because at the end of the day, that's
but
pretty,
it
pretty
has
bad.
to be. I agree. It has to be a horrible way to go, and I do. I very feel sad for the family.
So my take is going to be Trump 39, Biden low 40s, and you're going to have maybe a 10-point swing for
Kennedy.
Kennedy. That's
Okay.
where I think he's going to land in New York.
What about Michigan?
Michigan, I want to say it's probably in all Democrat states. Michigan, I think he has a good chance of winning in Michigan. Trump.
So what the numbers?
I'm going to say Trump 52.
Mike?
Okay. I really don't know enough to just throw. I'd be just throwing a number out there to throw a number out there. I'll say 54.
I'll buy that for $1.
Here we go.
$1, Bob. $1.
I think Biden probably 52 or 53 because of the Muslim population there.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Dearborn's heavily Muslim.
Yeah, they and the fact that he is going against Israel right now and has been pushing what the Muslim population believes is against Israel, that they're going to vote.
Really, that's quite a revelation, Jim. The Muslims are against Israel.
No, but
Never would've
because
known that.
I said
Earth-shaking.
Wow, that's
be-
earth-shaking
I said
news.
Because Biden is pushing against Israel, the Muslims en bloc is going to vote for Biden.
Well,
So I think that's going to do that. And what about the one that the Pennsylvania? That's the scary one.
I haven't seen any polling in Pennsylvania because RFK is not on that ballot as of yet.
No, but I'm saying again, Biden and Trump.
Oh, I think Biden's got the state. He's leading all the polls there.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I heard that what's that senator there?
Don't know.
The one that was elected last time. The one that had the stroke. Not the stroke, but had the what's the name? What's the guy? It was the senator from Pennsylvania that always wears shorts and a hoodie all the time. What's his name?
You're not talking about
The guy that
Fetterman.
Fetterman. Actually, he has horrible poll ratings right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Horrible. All right. Well, with that said and done, I think we're going to wrap it up today. And I hope you enjoyed the content. Please hit like, subscribe. Very important. Subscription. Right there.
There you go.
Have yourselves a great week. We'll see you again on Wednesday.
Until we meet again.
Till we meet again.